Netflix has become one of the biggest streamers in the world, exposing us to great international movies and TV which we've never seen before, proving that strong narratives can be produced at a very high quality outside of the world of Hollywood. Squid Games dominated the Western world.
Squid Game is not like anything else on television. Think Hunger Games meets Parasite, a gory dystopian thriller on track to be the most watched streaming sensation ever.
With majority of people watching it using either subtitles or dubbing, which created a huge need for the most unsung heroes in this industry, and that is the subtitlers and the translators. The people who spend countless hours translating so we as an audience have access to more stories than ever before. But what if I told you that the people who put this work in are exploited more than you could ever imagine? And Netflix is one of the biggest culprits for doing this. Now, Netflix themselves claim to support diversity and global access by offering subtitles in 30 plus languages. But behind the scenes, it underpays and overworks the freelance translators and subtitlers who make this access possible. So how does it work exactly? Netflix generally outsources its shows to what is known as localization vendors, for example VSI or Deluxe. These vendors then split the work into subtitle, script or dubbing segments. These companies then assign that workload to freelancers. The vendors themselves actually take a huge chunk of the money, generally 30 to 70% for themselves, and the workload itself for these translators and subtitlers is long and grueling. The subtitles have to be done manually and match the time code perfectly, as well as following Netflix's style guide. They are also generally required to limit the length of the subtitles to approximately half the number of letters or characters that are available through the audio dubbing script. They're expected to retain the full meaning of the dialogue while making it so easily readable that it doesn't detract from the enjoyment of the on-screen action. And sometimes it just doesn't translate well either, because we can miss nuances. They also have to be aware of the culture around the language that they're translating from and make sure that they're concise, respectful and understandable to the audience. So it's a lot more difficult than people might think. And it can be very, very time consuming. For example, 1 hour of a Netflix show can take 6 to 10 hours to subtitle, and the freelancer will only make an average of from $2.80 to $4 per minute. And when you add that up over a 20-hour project, it isn't actually a lot of money. And this is because, like I mentioned, that the vendors take a huge chunk for themselves, but it's also because although the likes of these vendors and Netflix will claim that they get paid $14 to $15 per minute, which may seem like a good deal, the workload is so big, and because it takes so long to complete, they only actually make up to $2 to $5 an hour, which is simply not a livable wage. And it's also important to mention that these subtitles and these dubs that are done give Netflix access to millions of more people around the world. So the amount of money that Netflix are making on the back end of this is insanely high, considering the fact they're available in over 190 countries around the world now currently. And Netflix does the classic big corporation move here and avoids blame. They say, well, we aren't exploiting, we're outsourcing to the vendors. We have no control over what they pay their freelancers. If something goes wrong, such as exploitation or late pay, Netflix will say, it's not our fault, we didn't hire them. The problem here, of course, is that Netflix are aware of these issues, but because it costs them literally nothing to get these videos subtitled, they simply don't care. If the vendors decide to pay their freelancers more money, they're going to charge Netflix more for their service, which is what Netflix don't want. But that being said, in 2017, Netflix actually launched their own subtitler qualification platform known as HERMES, which was designed to test and rate subtitlers globally, build a proprietary pool of freelance translators, and eliminate the reliance on these third-party vendors. They claimed at the time that it would have better quality control and quicker turnarounds, and that they would only accept the best in the world. Translators actually had to pass a test to be accepted, and shockingly enough, the pay wasn't actually good either. They would again offer $12 to $14 per minute of runtime, which was the standard pay, but like the vendors, with difficult languages, these videos took longer to subtitle, which again resulted in these freelancers only being paid $2 to $5 an hour. And in 2022, they kind of secretly dropped the program altogether, and we can only really speculate as to why. The most obvious answer here to me, obviously, is the cost. It's just simply cheaper for Netflix to use the vendors. They can push the cost, the labour disputes, the ethical concerns out of their view. Now, I can only speculate on this, But to me, this is the most logical economic explanation. But it also proves that Netflix actually have the tech and budget to build a fair system for these freelancers. They simply just don't want to because of the cost and the responsibility that comes with it. So Netflix are being hypocrites at the end of the day. They make these grand statements about being global and inclusive, but the people that are making it inclusive are the ones that are being exploited. And consumers like you and I have no idea this is happening. A lot of us just take it for granted. We assume a giant corporation like Netflix wouldn't exploit such a valuable resource and service. And if the vendors are continually allowed to exploit their freelancers, you'll soon find that you won't be able to get anyone to apply for these roles. And why would they? What they are doing, it actually mirrors the fast fashion industry, which is what I covered in the past, where they too outsource and deny responsibility. No contracts, no wage standards, no labor protections, nothing. Netflix built a global empire on accessibility, promising that stories from anywhere could be watched by anyone. But behind that promise lies a hidden workforce of subtitle translators who are chronically underpaid, overworked, and simply erased from the credits. They've set an industry standard that other streamers are following. The likes of Amazon, Apple, HBO Max, to name a few, aren't doing much better for the translator industry either, and seem to be following the same methods as Netflix. Netflix and its localization vendors are increasingly turning to AI and automation for subtitle and translation work. The shift is one of the key reasons why freelance subtitle translators are being underpaid, replaced, or sidelined. But it highlights the importance of human translation, because Squid Game subtitles were criticized for drastically changing the meaning of key scenes, including feminist dialogue being erased or softened, likely due to rush workloads or machine translations. And this is all done in an attempt to save money, and even translators themselves are being paid to fix these mistakes that are being made by these AI systems at a really lower paid rate. With time as well and the improvement of AI, human translators may become a thing of the past. But the problem with this system is it's completely degrading the hard work both of the subtitlers and the translators, but also of the filmmakers, the writers who spend time crafting scenes and character arcs that are completely belittled and changed because of poor subtitling through AI. The problem is as well is that people notice when subtitles are not good, and they are vocal about it every time. Subtitlers and translators are crucial for this industry if it wants to continue to expand, especially for a big corporation like Netflix that has a massive volume. They need to be paid well, because at the end of the day it ruins movies and it pisses off the filmmakers. Translators deserve better pay, respect, and admiration for what they do, because without them we would suffer as an audience. Because at the end of the day, it's not really about poor subtitles. It's about a giant tech profiting from cultural labor it refuses to pay fairly. And although Netflix are not the only culprits in all this, they are certainly a big player in this. And the only way to actually make this change is us, the audience. We need to put the likes of Netflix and Amazon under pressure every time they mess up, every time the subtitles are not the standard they should be. We should be supporting the subtitlers and the translators and making sure that they are being compensated for the hard work that they do. As per usual, in the capitalistic world that we live in, even in the entertainment business, we still see exploitation in whole new ways that we never could have thought of. Subtitling for Netflix is a relatively new industry, and it didn't take long for it to be exploited by that industry. But that's it guys, thanks so much for watching. Please like, share and subscribe as always if you enjoyed the video, and let me know in the comments down below what you think. Do you believe that these subtitlers and translators deserve to be paid well? Were you aware of this relatively new kind of industry in the streaming world and how quickly it became exploited? Netflix aren't the only ones. I mean, YouTube recently brought out an automated dubbing system and subtitling system on their own platform. Time will only tell how that turns out. I'm not 100% sure how much YouTube rely on these other vendors like the way Netflix does, but I would imagine that they do, and that's something that should be highlighted as well. Either way, you let me know in the comments below what you think. But that's it guys, thanks so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Peace.